The Duino Elegies, the fifth elegy, by Rainer Maria Rilke. It's dedicated to Frau Hertha Koenig, the owner of Picasso's large 84-inch by 90 3/8-inch 1905 painting, La Famille de Saltimbanque, which she had bought in December 1914. The painting made such a deep impression on Rilke that he wrote to Frau Koenig asking if he could stay in her Munich home while she was away for the summer of 1915, so that he could live beneath the great work, quote, which gives me the courage for this request, end quote. The request was granted, and Rilke spent 4 months with the, quote, glorious Picasso, end quote. The other source for the fifth elegy is Rilke's experience over a number of years with a troupe of Parisian circus people. In a letter to Louis Andreas Salom on February 19th, 1922, Lou was Rilke's lover, Freud's lover, Nietzsche's lover, and inspired quite a few other men. And she herself was an analyst, extraordinary woman. Okay, so in his letter, Rilke says, this elegy, the last one to be written, replaced Antistrophes. I had intended to make a copy of the other 3 elegies for you today, since it is already Sunday again. But now imagine, in a radiant afterstorm, another elegy has been added, the Saltimbanques, acrobats. It is the most wonderful completion, only now does the circle of elegies seem to me truly closed. It is not added on as the 11th, but will be inserted as the 5th, before the hero elegy. Besides, the piece that previously stood there seemed to me, because of its different kind of structure, to be unjustified in that place, though beautiful as a poem. The new elegy will replace it, and how, and the supplanted poem will appear in the section of fragmentary pieces, which, as a second part of the book of elegies, will contain everything that is contemporaneous with them, all the poems that time, so to speak, destroyed before they could be born, or cut off in their development to such an extent that the broken edges show. And so now the Saltimbanques, too, exist, who even from my very first year in Paris affected me so absolutely and have haunted me ever since. Without further ado, the 5th elegy dedicated to Frau Hertha Koenig. But tell me, who are they, these wanderers, even more transient than we ourselves, who from their earliest days are savagely wrung out by a never-satisfied will, for whose sake? Yet it wrings them, bends them, twists them, swings them, and flings them and catches them again, and falling as if through oiled slippery air, they land on the threadbare carpet, worn constantly thinner by their perpetual leaping, this carpet that is lost in infinite space, stuck on like a bandage, as if the suburban sky had wounded the earth, and hardly has it appeared when standing there upright is the large capital D that begins duration, and the always approaching grip takes them again as a joke, even the strongest men, and crushes them the way King Augustus the Strong would crush a pewter plate. And around this center, the rows of onlooking blooms and unblossoms. Around this pestle, pounding the carpet, this pistil, fertilized by the pollen of its own dust, and producing in turn the specious fruit of displeasure. The unconscious, gaping faces, their thin surfaces glossy, with boredom's specious half-smile. There, the shriveled-up, wrinkled weightlifter, an old man who only drums now, shrunk in his enormous skin, which looks as if it had once contained 2 men, and the other were already lying in the graveyard, while this one lived on without him, deaf, and sometimes a little confused, in the widowed skin. And the young one over there, the man who might be the son of a neck and a nun, firm and vigorously filled with muscles and innocence. Children, whom a grief that was still quite small once received as a toy during one of its long convalescences. You, little boy, who fall down 100 times daily with the thud that only unripe fruits know from the tree of mutually constructed motion, which more quickly than water, in a few minutes, has its spring, summer, and autumn. Fall down hard on the grave. Sometimes, during brief pauses, a loving look toward your seldom affectionate mother tries to be born in your expression, but it gets lost along the way. Your body consumes it, that timid, scarcely attempted face. And again, the man is clapping his hands for your leap. And before a pain can become more distinct near your constantly racing heart, the stinging in your souls rushes ahead of that other pain, chasing a pair of physical tears quickly into your eyes. And nevertheless, blindly, the smile. Oh, gather it, angel, that small flowered herb of healing. Create a vase and preserve it. Set it among those joys not yet open to us. On that lovely urn, praise it with the ornately flowing inscription, Subricio saltat. And you then, my lovely darling, you, whom the most tempting joys have mutely leapt over, perhaps your fringes are happy for you, or perhaps the green metallic silk stretched over your firm young breasts feels itself endlessly indulged and in need of nothing. You display fruit of equanimity, set out in front of the public in continual variations on all the swaying scales of equipoise, lifted among the shoulders. Oh, where is the place? I carry it in my heart, where they were still far from mastery, still fell apart from each other, like mating cattle that someone has badly paired, where the weights are still heavy, where from their vainly twirling sticks the plates still wobble and drop. And suddenly, in this laborious nowhere, suddenly the unsayable spot where the pure too little is transformed incomprehensibly, leaps around and changes into that empty too much, where the difficult calculation becomes numberless and resolved. Squares, oh, square in Paris, infinite showplace where the milliner Madame Lamotte twists and winds the restless paths of the earth, those endless ribbons, and from them designs new bows, frills, flowers, ruffles, artificial fruits, all falsely colored for the cheap winter bonnets of fate. Angel, if there were a place that we didn't know of, and there on some unsayable carpet, lovers displayed what they never could bring to mastery here, the bold exploits of their high-flying hearts, their towers of pleasure, their ladders that have long since been standing where there was no ground, leaning just on each other, trembling, and could master all this before the surrounding spectators, the innumerable soundless dead. Would these, then, throw down their final, forever saved up, forever hidden unknown to us, eternally valid coins of happiness, before the at last genuinely smiling pair on the gratified carpet.